Sophie is an electronic producer. I am smiling right now because I'm just so happy with this album, man. I'm just so happy about Sophie's craft, honestly. She's an electronic producer who is extremely forward-thinking and eclectic and strange, and has been putting out music over the past few years that has just been either fantastic or not. And if it's not fantastic, it's still incredibly creative and strange and doing things that not many people out there are doing. The fact that Sophie has managed to influence a pop singer to go in this direction, and I'm obviously talking about Charlie XCX, like, to me it's just insane, because usually these underground artists that get raved by critics and, you know, stay within the inner circles of the music community don't really ever break out that far, but yet it's only been a few years that Sophie's been doing this, and we already have Charlie XCX on this sound. I think to me that just shows how much potential this sound has for the future, and how people are going to start catching on, perhaps in the next decade, but maybe that's a little bit of a bold statement, like perhaps it might not catch on, but I just think in the 2020s this sound might be more prominent in the mainstream. On Vince Staples' Big Fish Theory, he collaborated with Sophie. There were a lot of hip-hop heads that didn't like the album. I thought the album was a little bit messy and needed a bit refining, and perhaps on the next album that Vince Staples drops he'll get to that point, which is what I said in my review way back when. But still, the ideas were very creative and eclectic, and something that not many hip-hop artists have tried to do. And now here we are with Oil of Every Pearl's Uninsides, which is obviously a double entendre, if you will, meaning I love every person's insides, which really does fit Sophie's persona and ideology completely to a T. I mean, she is very much about the artist as opposed to the image of the artist. I mean, she started out and we didn't really know who Sophie was, and then with the It's Okay to Cry song she came out in quite an emotional way as a trans person, and I thought the track was wonderful, honestly. I think the criticisms of her vocals were fair, but like, I don't know, to me it just seemed perfect that she was singing this track. Like, some people I remember saying if she'd have just got a different vocalist on to sing like she always does with her songs, and it would have worked better. But no, I think it needed her to sing these words, and then the final few moments where the track crashes through, it's okay to cry. It's just a wonderful moment, and I do think that moment could have come earlier in the track and it could have been longer, but still I think it is fantastic. But the thing is, with the album title, I think she should have really just called it I Love Every Person's Insides. Like, she could have got away with that and it would have been perfect as an album title, whereas calling it Oil of Every Pearl's Uninsides is just a bit of a mouthful, and that as a sentence doesn't even make sense anyway, so I think it could have just worked as I Love Every Person's Insides. But I'm not here to critique the album title, it's just something I've observed when thinking about this album. But yeah, obviously I've already talked about It's Okay to Cry. Great opening track, fantastic tone setter. I mean, not in sense of like the tone of the album sound, but I just think this was the perfect way to kick off this album, because from there we don't get anything like that track. I mean, some of the tracks have some, like, you know, beautiful arranged moments and more like organic sounds to them, as opposed to the heavy crashing like electronic just madness that occurs on the opening tracks. And I must admit, it took me a little bit of a while to get used to the track Ponyboy with that beat. I mean, the beat goes on a little bit too much, like it's the same crashing sound like for a long time. It's pretty repetitive, but the more I listened to it, the more I got used to it. And I think that's the thing with Sophie's sound. Like, I don't think it's something you're supposed to just click on with instantaneously and think it's amazing, even though there will be people out there that do that, which is cool. But for me, it's just like, it just takes a while to get used to some of these sounds, and that's with the one moment on this album that that really had to take a while to get used to, very much like Product. I mean, I didn't like Product when I first heard it, but then I thought it was amazing. Then we get to Faceshopping, and oh my god, this song is unreal. Like, holy shit. What is this song? I do not know. It is just insane with that beat. It's just absolutely metallic and just so just out of this world. It's alien. This Sophie is just an alien because how the hell did she come up with these ideas? I do not know. And I friggin' love the way she says, "My face is the front of shop." I just love that. I don't know why. Just it's got so much sass to it, and oh man, oh. This track is just unreal, man. I fucking love this. I can't even describe it. This is like the Igloo Ghost album where some of the sounds and ideas are just impossible to describe. And very much like that Igloo Ghost album, I mean, we've got another electronic album here that's just completely blowing everything else out of the water in the genre, like as a debut album as well. Obviously, Product was a compilation, so I still see that as like the debut album. But like this is the official album that she's put together as like, and calling it a debut album. And like again, it's just unreal. Is It Cold in the Water is this really beautiful, kind of like arca, kind of like an archetype track to me, with the sort of like singing and the instrumental going on in the background. Very much like Bjork too, in the vein of that kind of sound where Bjork goes into a more endearing moments and just sings in the most beautiful ways over these incredibly gorgeous instrumentals. Like it very much reminded me of that. But yeah, a few tracks in the middle, my hair, what the hell? A few tracks in the middle after this moment do kind of fly over me a little bit, but when I concentrate, they do sound pretty beautiful. I'm interested in seeing Sophie doing more of this type of stuff because it's very much new for her, and perhaps she hasn't quite got the sound under her belt just yet. Like obviously when she does the insane electronic instrumental, she just knows how to do that and it just sounds unbelievable. But these more sort of mellow moments, these sort of more like organic type feel tracks are very much new for her, and I don't think she's quite set herself up for like a unique sound with these moments. Kind of like how I felt about Vince Staples' last album, like the moments were incredibly creative, but I just didn't feel like he was in his own lane with that idea just yet, and that's kind of similar here. Pretending is the best example of that though, because it is quite an ambient type feel track, but it goes on a little over long. It's overdue its stay time, I think, because it doesn't really lead to anything that amazing to me, and it just goes on for like 5+ minutes, and it probably could have been shorter. But then when we get to Immaterial, are you kidding me? What? I just couldn't believe it when I was listening to this song. Oh my god. That track is catchy as hell. I could not believe my ears. Like in the second half of that track where it just goes completely bombastic and over the top and it's just such a dance craze fest. Jesus. I'd be stupid to not include this in my best songs of the year list in December. Holy Lord. But yeah, it's kind of one of those songs that you just have to hear for yourself, man. Like, it's absolutely insane. There's so much going on, and usually, like, if there's a track that has that with so much going on, it can sound too messy, but it just never does with Sophie, like, ever. And Whole New World, again, is just another crazy track. This beat is so strange and buzzy. It's like bam 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 bam, like it really is like pounding your head when you're listening to it. It totally sounds like if you were in like a really insane like raving club. Like it's like 2 a.m, everyone's absolutely out of their minds because they've been taking alcohol and probably drugs too, you know. And the songs are just like blasting your mind, and you were just going crazy and just jumping all over the place. Like that's what this song to me sounds like. Yeah, she's really just transformed